Shalom, shalom. I'm going to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops, a great millstone that rule well, that teach well, while learning truth, 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, prophet servants, scattered abroad the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the Akwaf, which are the sisters that are sincere and your children. Shalom. And in today's video, as you can see, is going to be another video just touching on the severity of the times in which it is we're living in. Today's video is going to be titled "The Love of Many Shall Wax Cold," because that's ultimately what we see happening here in this place, America, and the world as we know it. As it tells us in Matthew 24:12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And when you go into that word cold in the Greek, it goes into cycles. So you got a lot of people in this place, America, and the world that are bugging out, that are losing their mind. You know, they're doing all type of wicked things. And the Lord said that these days will be happening in a lot of times, right? Ultimately, before the Lord makes his second return, that you will have a lot of wickedness that will be happening in this world, right? So I'm going to let this video play and, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to get a few more precepts, and Lord's willing, this video be edifying. But before I start the video, I'm going to say fair use on the 1976 Copyright Act, fair use.
Meanwhile, a family dispute escalates into an unthinkable tragedy. We are now learning more about a fatal shooting of a 30-year-old woman at MLK in Valit.
The victim's loved ones tell our Bria Jones it was her teen brother who pulled the trigger. Bria joins us from the news.
Right. So you hear what it is that they basically said, and I'm going to allow the rest of the video to play, but I'm going to get a few precepts that I got, right? But we heard them say that it was ultimately her brother that deleted her, right? So I'm going to get this precept right here. This is 2 Timothy chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 1, right? It said, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come," right? That word perilous goes into times full of chaos, danger, or of risk, hazardous times, right? And it says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous," right? Being greedy of gain, right? Boasters, right? Proud, right? Arrogant, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, right? And these are all of the same things in which it is that you see through these people here in Babylon and Great America and the world. These are the characteristics and the traits that these people are ultimately showing to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. These are the spirits that these people are walking in, right? Proving that we're in the latter days, right? And this is verse 3, the point. It said, "Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good." But I'm going to focus on this one where it says without natural affection, right? So I looked that word up on the AI overview and it popped up. It said without natural affection refers to a state of being hard-hearted, right? Unloving and lacking compassion, particularly towards family members or close relatives, right? And hence what you see in the video happened. The guy basically shot his sister, right? Or whatever the case may have been. But we know ultimately Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai said that in these times that, he's ultimately going to do that. That's what the Lord have came to do. He said he came to divide family members against one another and things of that nature. And I'm going to actually get to that precept, matter of fact, through the Spirit, right? Just to prove that. This is St. Matthew chapter 10. I'm going to start at verse 34. It said, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword," right? And that sword is representing division, man. That's what Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is ultimately bringing upon the earth. So that's why you see a lot of people that are allegedly supposed to be close. They're the main ones that are separated and detached and apart from one another. That's why you got wives coming up against their husbands, vice versa. This is the spirit that the Lord is bringing upon this earth, man, right? And it says, verse 35, "For I am come to set a man at variance," right? And when you go into that word variance, it goes into being against or at odds with some person, right? "Against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law," right? Verse 36, it said, "A man's foes," right? Meaning his enemies, "shall be they of his own household." And this is what you see basically taking place in this video, right? That you basically got a woman. She was deleted by her own brother. That's what the Lord have come to do. He have come to set people at variance, come to set people at odds with one another. And all of these are the signs of the times, proving that we're at the end of this place by all of the wickedness in which it is that we see ultimately, occurring in this place, America, man. And we know that this is only the beginning of the evils that the Lord is getting ready to bring upon this place. It's going to get way worse in the near future, the times that the Lord is about to bring. But this is only the beginning of the chaos, right? And I'm going to go to a precept just to prove that, right? I'm going to go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 14, verse 16, right? And it said, for yet greater evils, right, meaning bad times, than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter, right? Verse 17, for look how much the world shall be weakened through age, right? So much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. And evils goes into times that are bad, right? And we're at the beginning of seeing all of these bad times beginning to manifest upon the earth, mainly in this place, Babylon the Great, through the characteristics of these people, how they're behaving, the love of many waxing cold, people not caring about each other, you know, all of these different types of things, right? So this is just proving that we're about to step into some very dark times, man, like never before, and they're fastly approaching, right? So this is Proverbs 22:3. It said, a prudent man, right, meaning a wise man, foreseeth the evil, right, and hideth himself, right? How do he hide himself? Under the confines of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, as the Lord has said in Psalms chapter 91, you know, hiding in the Lord shall be our refuge, you know, roughly paraphrasing that scripture, right? But it said, but the simple pass on and are punished, right? And that simple is talking about 2/3 of our people, because the Lord have said that, you know, they are sottish children, meaning stupid. So a lot of our people are very simple. They can't understand the times and the seasons in which it is that we're living in, and that things are about to get way more intense, man, that all of these scenarios and situations that they see happening in America is getting ready to escalate, man. It's getting ready to get cranked up to a new level. And they don't know that these times are coming because ultimately they're not watching. They're not paying attention. They're not measuring the times diligently in itself. They're not, you know, paying attention to the prophecies and all of the things in which it is that the Lord have told us to be paying attention to. They're worrying about the things of the world, you know. So that's why when these evils does begin to take place, right, it's going to come upon them and they're going to perish, right? So that's why us being the children of the light, we don't ultimately be in these spirits of, you know, ultimately just, you know, not paying attention to the things in which it is that are going on. The Lord said we have to be wise in these times, brothers and sisters, very wise, you know. So I'm going to get this precept as well. This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15, KJV. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, right? And that's how we got to be in this time, knowing that we're in some very serious times, knowing that people out here are, you know, crazy, and people got a lot of different spirits attached to them, you know, mainly of our people, 2/3 of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, both men and women. These people out here are wicked. And once you know that, that allows you to walk through this world with a wise mindset, being in the spirit, you know, thinking before you do certain things, you know, being very cautious, you know, and mindful. These are the times in which we should be doing that now more than ever, right? And it says, redeeming the time because the days are evil, right? And we living in some very evil times, man. Whenever you got a video of, you know, brother and sisters deleting each other and, you know, things of that nature happening, and all just the different types of judgments and evils that you see taking place in the news, you know that we're living in some very evil times, man. Right. And that's why it's important for us to be walking in that spirit of wisdom, allowing wisdom to meet us at every thought, as it tells you in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6. You know, you got to allow wisdom to guide you in these troublesome times that we're about to step into. Right. This is verse 17. It says, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And what's the will of the Lord? To bring forth evil, to bring forth judgment, to judge 2/3 of his people and these other heathens here in America. We know that is coming, man. So that's what us knowing these things. Guess what? We got to move with wisdom. We got to be wise, knowing that these things that are going to happen is all being divinely orchestrated by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, man. Right. And I'm going to go to a precept just to prove that, right, through the spirit. All these things are being controlled by the Lord, man. This is Isaiah chapter 45. And I'm going to go straight to the point. Verse 7. It said, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace, right, meaning good times, and create evils. I, the Lord, do all these things, man. So that's us knowing the will of the Lord, that he's going to bring forth these judgments, right? And that we got to be moving and walking in a way that is pleasing unto him, that Yahweh Ratazah, that these evils that are coming upon this earth, that they don't, you know, ultimately affect us. You know, Lord's will we be the elect. So we got to be very wise out here in these times, knowing that, like I said before, you know, you got people out here with a lot of spirits on them, you know, people that are just trying to do things just because, man. These people out here don't have no emotions, no sympathy. They not walking around, you know, with a sound, broken and contrite spirit. These people are walking around in the total exact opposite. So they're walking around trying to do harm into people, trying to do things in which it is that they can do to inflict and bring upon pain, especially upon us believers, man. What the Lord has said, I'm going to get that precept. This is St. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. It said, behold, I send you forth as sheep, right? Because we're sheep, being the believers in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. A sheep is a docile animal. You know, it's an animal that's very, it's very, delicate and very, what's the word I was looking for? You know, a sheep is just a docile, harmless animal. They don't inflict pain upon other creatures, right? So that's who we are in this truth, right? And it said in the midst of wolves, right? A wolf is a ravening animal. You know, it's a violent animal. It's a ferocious, vicious animal, right? And that's these people that we've got to walk around every day in this world, right? They're wolves, meaning wicked people, vile people, people that are seeking to do harm to one or another, right? These are the people that we ultimately are around every day when we're walking through this world day to day, right? And that's why it's important for us to be in that spirit of wisdom, us knowing these things and applying that wisdom and allowing it to direct us through these troublesome times that we're in, right? It says, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves, right? And that's ultimately what we got to be in this thing of ours, brothers and sisters. We got to continue to remain wise as serpents, man. Being wise, and that's being wise towards anything and everybody, man. You got to watch who you be around. You got to watch who you have in your company. You got to watch who you revealing certain information to. Because like I said, we're living in some very evil times. People are spies, agents. People got a lot of hidden motives and agendas, reasons to why they coming around you, especially us being in this truth. We know that they did the same thing to our Lord Yahushua, man. That you had a lot of people that were plotting, seeking to do harm unto the men of the Lord. There's nothing new under the sun, man. So these are the same things that we have to deal with now in this day and time. So that's why it's very important for us to be very wise, and I'm going to get back into this video. So we can finish seeing what it is that's going on. But like I said, we're just living in that time, man, where if it's not a brother that's in his truth, that's diligent and that's and sincere, you can't really trust nobody, man. Not anybody, because, it's just a lot of evil that's going on in these world, man. And, and like I said from this video, the woman was deleted by her own brother. So that just telling you that ain't no such thing as family. The only thing that is truly family is the brothers and sisters that we have in this truth, man. That's really all that matters at the end of the day. Everything else is just really fleshly, man. It's vain, really. It really doesn't matter. And this is the mindset that we got to have. We got to move with wisdom in these very dark days, right? And I'm going to go to a precept just touching on the importance of that wisdom, man, right? Then I'll get back into the video. Bear with me. Blessed. This is Proverbs chapter 3. And I'm going to start at verse 13, right? In the KJV, this is how important wisdom truly is, man, because this wisdom is what's going to get us through these chaotic times in which it is that we see fastly approaching, man. As it tells you in Isaiah 33:6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. What times? These times of evils and chaos that's beginning to manifest, right? This knowledge of the scriptures is going to keep us stable, man, right? This is Proverbs 3:13. It said, happy is the man that findeth wisdom and the man that getteth understanding, right? Verse 14, for the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold, man, right? Verse 15, she is more precious than rubies, and all the things that thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her, right? That's talking about this knowledge that we have of the scriptures, man. Nothing you can basically name in this world can put a price on this wisdom that we have received, man. To know that there are dark days coming, to know that Jacob's trouble is on the horizon, to know that Esau is getting ready to come down with great wrath, knowing that people are possessed with spirits, knowing that people are wicked, man. Knowing that 2/3 of our people are going to be cut off and die, and that the Lord is going to deliver his elect, man. This is the things that we have acquired through this wisdom, man, which is very important, right? More important than anything, right? Because everything that is in this world is soon to come about to be destroyed. So the only thing that's going to stand at the end of the day is this wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures, man, right? Which is going to be found in the Lord's elect. Lord's will we be at that number, right? So this is verse 16. It said, length of days is in her right hand, right? Because when you're wise, you're going to make wise decisions, right? So you're not going to do certain things that is going to lead you into the paths of, falling victim to some type of situation that you could have avoided. No, wisdom is going to allow you to depart from all of those things that could possibly do harm unto you, right? That's why I said length of days, meaning life, is in her right hand. And in her left hand, riches and honor, right? Verse 17, her ways are ways of pleasantness and all her paths are peace, man. Right? Going back to what I said, being wise as serpents, harmless as doves. We got to be peaceable if we can with all men, of course. But we also got to be aware that, hey, these people out here don't have our best interests, right? That's why you got to be circumspect, right? This is Proverbs 3:18. It says, she is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her. And that's what we got to continue to do, brothers and sisters. Yahweh desires to retain this information in which it is that the Lord have given us to remain wise, man, to remain in that spirit of being, circumspect, knowing that we're living in some deadly serious times, knowing that people out here just don't have it, knowing that people out here are, not like us, they don't have the mind that we have. They don't have the spirit that we have. So we got to know that and learn how to operate through this world, maneuvering in that mindset, right? Being wise, right? So I'm gonna get back into this video just to, see everything that's going. And that's basically the scriptures that I, pulled from basically this video, man, because the main purpose of this video is just being wise, knowing that we're living in some deadly serious times and that you can't really trust anybody, man. You can't really, especially if they're not in this truth like as you are. You can't trust people. People are agents. People are, people can be used against you, man, because we know that ultimately all of these things in this world can be used by the spiritual demon Satan on the left-hand side to fight against you, man. That's anybody, man. Your kids, your wife, your friends, your mama, anybody, man. Right? Especially if they're not grounded in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. They're a potential, person that can be used to try to do harm or bring chaos into your life, man. Right? And you avoid these things when you operating in that spirit of wisdom. You know these things, right? So I'm going to get into the video.
The newsroom tonight with the story that's new at 10.
Good evening, Kim and Ted. The family of 30-year-old Ashley Hudson says she was involved in a heated argument with her siblings when her 15-year-old brother shot and killed her. Tonight, Hudson's uncle tells me 3 of her siblings and her mother are all in police custody. Hudson says the siblings all suffer with behavior and mental health issues.
I feel like I lost my whole family tonight.
A family torn apart by violence. The tragedy captured on Facebook Live.
Ooh, he popped. He just shot dude right there. I hate that it happened on Facebook Live. That's something very, that's what really just, devastated me the most, to see my own nephews and nieces.
Milwaukee police say 30-year-old Ashley Hudson, a mother of 4, was shot and killed Monday night at the intersection of MLK and Valee. Family says her 15-year-old brother and 2 sisters, ages 16 and 21, were all arrested. Anthony Hudson is their uncle.
At this point, do you know who shot and killed Ashley?
Me, honestly, I don't want to believe it, but I kind of want to say it was my nephew. My baby sister called me and said they killed Ashley.
Video shows people speeding away after the shooting, but Hudson says what's not shown is his nephew returning to the scene.
He said it was an accident. He didn't mean to do it, and he just aimed it.
All right. And like I said, he probably didn't mean to do it. But like I said, this is a spiritual warfare that we're in. And you got, like I said before, people, they're possessed with spirits, man. And we know ultimately the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, he's the one that's creating these spirits and allowing them to get active, man. And I'm going to actually go to that precept, I'm going to go to that because everything that happens, like I read earlier in Isaiah 45:7, both good and evil, the Lord is controlling. He's also controlling life and death, man. It tells you that in Psalms chapter 68, verse 20, he that is our power is the power of life and the issues of death coming from him, roughly paraphrasing it. But we know that Lord is controlling all things, man. And he put the spirit on that guy to shoot his sister, man. As crazy as that may sound to some of you people, but that's the truth, man. That the Lord controls all these things, man. He controls the minds of men, right? This is Sirach chapter 39, verse 28. It said, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him, right? Talking about the Heavenly Father Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushua, him that made them, right? Because the Lord is ultimately the one that created these spirits, man. And these spirits are taking possession of these people and they're doing all type of wickedness, man, right? On the left-hand side. But the Lord is the one that's controlling all of those things. right? And I'm going to go to another precept just to prove that. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32. And I'm going to start at verse 39, KJV. It says, see now that even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So Yahweh Shem Yahushua was ultimately the one controlling the mind of that Jake that did what he did unto his sister, man, you know. And that's why, like I said before, we got to be very wise in these times, brothers and sisters, knowing that we're living in evil times, you know. But that's what happened with Jake, man. You know, Jake always want to be out here partying, going inside these other different events, wanting to be in the world and things of that nature. So this is what the Lord is doing, man. He's bringing forth a lot of judgment upon wicked people, man. And we don't feel bad for these people at all, you know, because guess what? I'm pretty sure they didn't all heard of the truth. They didn't heard of them being Hebrew Israelites. These people don't want to repent and turn back to the Lord. So that's why they find themselves in a lot of these troublesome situations. But us brothers and sisters operating in the spirit of wisdom, right? Thinking before we react, we know to depart and to stay away from things like that, man. And that's what's going to keep the elect preserved in these times, making wise decisions and moving with that wisdom that Yahweh Shem Yahushua have ultimately given us, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. Lord's will to be edifying to you brothers and sisters that come across it. To the next time, I'm going to say shalom to the elect.